What's up, fight fans? And welcome back to another episode of the Fight Plan Podcast. It's such a privilege and honor to be able to do this. And today's guest, it's just incredible. I get to have another conversation with this guy, Brady Leavold. Okay, puck support, mental health hockey on Instagram. You've heard of this guy? If you're in hockey, you've crossed his story. And I've been on his podcast twice before. Our relationship runs so deep where we don't have to stay connected. We can just get on a call and it's like, I've known this guy my whole life. Okay, he hasn't done a podcast in a long time. He's been on a very unique journey. And hey, that's what we like to explore here on the Fight Plan. Let's go. Namaste, fellow waves. In the ocean of loving consciousness, namaste. And yeah, we have a hell of a guest, people. Brady Leavold. If you know anything about hockey, you're plugged in enough, you know this story and you've heard it. He's told it so many times. It's so impactful and it's shone so much love and light into this hockey community, into this hockey culture. Just from the meat monkey spacesuits perspective, from separation, an absolute nightmare. To go through what he went through. I won't speak for him, but it's harrowing. Okay, you can find his story online. We're going to get into it a bit here. But man, the fights on the ice are one thing, but they're nothing like the fights off. And this guy was a warrior on the ice, let me tell you. I don't know how much we'll get into the actual fights on the ice because there's so much fight off the ice in this guy's life that he's so brave and courageous and vulnerable about. But this guy was like basically a Darcy Tucker born in Port Coquitlam instead of Alberta and just went through things that derailed his life and maybe that Darcy Tucker didn't deal with or was able to deal with. But we all have our own fight. We all have our own journey. And I'm just so proud of this guy to be where he's at today and to be able to have him come on where he hasn't done a podcast in a long time. He's really reduced his speaking is very powerful. And I know a lot of people are going to watch this because of him. And I just want to say thank you for his interest in his story. Thank you for all the love and light you've given him. And let's send him lots of love after this podcast for stepping back into the public space and just being the rock star he is. Okay. So Brady Leavold, guy who has experienced a whole hell of a lot and he's just under 40 years on this life. So not much else to say. I mean, the Vaseline's always on, the wrists are always taped up. You know, I'm ready to go into conversation like this. Brady Leavold, everyone. Whoa. Fight fans, slow down. I know you're excited for the interview and I'm so excited for you to hear it. However, I am also very, very excited to talk about my book, my memoir, that me and my co-author Dana have been absolutely pouring our heart and souls into for so long now. We got a date. I've been bouncing around all over the place with it, but June 29th, my favorite hockey number, right before Canada Day, before July 4th. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, fellow waves. It's going to be a wild summer. Brady motherfucking Leavold, welcome to the Fight Plan Podcast, brother. What is going on?
What's going on, man? It's been a hot minute that we've been trying to get together. It's on me. My apologies. I've taken a bit of a hiatus from media and actually from like speaking and from doing some stuff that, you know, I've been grinding at for the last 5 years. So I'm here and I'm stoked and a big fan of what you've been doing. And you came on my podcast a couple times and we chopped it up. And I feel like it's long overdue. We both changed a lot since then.
Namaste, brother. That's a beautiful, beautiful little cap here. And you're the first guy I've had on who's like a thorough speaker who does this, right? But like you said, man, you've been on a fucking journey with it. The last time I came on your podcast back in the early puck support days, it was a different chapter of your life, a different era. And I'm so excited to have you on this podcast where you haven't done one in a long time. I feel very honored. And I know you got a lot going on, which I'm so excited to get into. But I thought we go back and we change this up in a different way. We know people have heard the story. And like you said, you've been telling it a lot. Let's go back to that freaking 90s post you made on Instagram the other day, back to the actual fucking childhood that we want to reminisce on and hear about, the fucking hockey childhood. This is the Fight Plan podcast. We're getting into tilts first, kid.
You know what, man?
Porco Quidlam, take me back.
Yeah, Poco represent. I had a a pretty great childhood if you're an outsider looking in.
Yep.
If you remove all the the childhood trauma that I
Mhm.
went through, all things considered, it was a pretty good childhood. Single dad, who was just a tremendous dad. Who, like, now that I'm almost 40 and have kids of my own and have gone through my own set of life challenges. I have just a total new appreciation, not only for what my dad went through, but just what all parents go through, especially single parents. It's not easy, and I have no idea how he did it, but he did. And because of that, I was able to play hockey. My dad, I think he worked like 3 jobs and leaned on my grandparents quite a bit, but was able to play hockey, and I loved hockey so much, like from day one. You talk about that post from the 90s, like I just loved hockey. Like, if you go back, I was actually back home in BC. I live in Ontario now, as you know, in Muskoka, but was back home not that long ago, and I was going through some of my old journals, like from like kindergarten and grade one, and it's like literally on repeat every single day. Like today I will play hockey. So and so will come over after school and we will play hockey. I love hockey. Like, every single day in my journal, that's what I wrote. And I just loved it, man. And I tell everybody, as much as I love the excitement, and we're talking like Warriors on Ice, right? Like, it's pretty cool when you see it. Like, what is this? How do I be a part of this? Right? That was my first thought process. But you take that away, I really liked the way that it made me feel. Like, whether I was on the ice, you know trying to get better with my team at a young age, or probably more importantly, when I was in the carport or on my front street, often by myself, just stick handling and shooting till my little heart is content, until I would come in and literally pass out on the couch. Like, I was too tired to eat most of the time. Because like, I just loved how that made me feel. I didn't have to think about all the other things. Like, my parents were going through a messy divorce, and that was really hard on me. So, like, that, and then when I was 5, and I've talked a lot about this, I was sexually abused, and like, that was really hard, right? For anybody at any age, it's really hard. For me, that was really difficult, and hockey was just always that constant. I could count on it as a painkiller. And then, because I was spending so much time in it, my identity got wrapped up in it, and I started to get pretty good at it. And like anything, especially as a young person, you're just trying to fit in and be accepted, and that was sort of what was coming easy to me. And just so happened to live in this place called Canada, that we glorify hockey and hockey players. So I rolled with it, because why not? Like, this feels good. I like having lots of friends, and I like being popular, and I like being pretty good at hockey. But I had no idea who I was all this time, and I was just holding on for dear life, and just trying to be accepted all the while, never ever figuring out what my true morals, values, beliefs, and all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of what these last 6 years, and really just the last little while, have really been about.
Yeah, brother. Hey, and I appreciate you going there. Like I said off the top, I wanted to dive into the positive side of things, and obviously you don't have to go all the way there. But hey, if you wanna, we want to go there and set the table, because I know early on, right, the podcast can be watched by hockey fans. They're very familiar with mental health hockey, Brady Leavold, all the amazing things you've done, the things you've been through. But I don't think we lean into like the fucking amazing time of it. Like, I can go back in my own journey of like, yeah, we had like the most opposite ends of trauma, right? Mine was the high functioning, hidden under the surface. Yours was fucking rotting you from the inside from early on. Like, we had that opposite trajectory, which is so fascinating. I think when my book comes out, we can dive down that even more. But, you know, dude, you got to play like a high level all the way up. Like, I had my shit, but it was almost this subconscious feeling of like, you bury it and you're just, I'm a kid. Fuck everything. I'm playing puck. You're watching the Canucks and I'm watching Darcy Tucker. Like Like it's just this weird split screen that when you look back as an adult, you go, yeah, I was going through that. But if you really let yourself sink into it, like we were fucking so into the hockey, brother. Like we shut it out.
Yeah, and that was it was my life, right? And like I said, I was just so wrapped up in it that um and I really liked how that made me feel. And like to your point, our journeys were very different. I never got cut from a team, like,
Right.
all the way through minor
Yeah.
hockey, right? So hockey was always that place where I could show up and kind of have that swag. And I was always like maybe not the best on the team because there was always this one kid, Ned, who I'm still friends with. I love this guy with all my heart. He got drafted by LA. He played in the American League. Probably should have played in the NHL, but unlike me with like substances and stuff, just had some other stuff, like
Mhm.
any of us,
Mhm.
probably going on. And but man, what a talent! And so I was always kind of chasing him, but I was right there, and never was gonna get cut from a team. So I didn't really know what that felt like, certainly in the hockey world and even in like life, right? And so I always tell, like when I'm talking to kids, you don't know what other people are going through because on like anybody that grew up with me, that went to school with me, they would have had no clue that, I was struggling so much. Like, I think maybe into grade 12, like some of my closer friends would have been able to see it just with now that we're into drinking and other stuff and I couldn't shut it off. But I still
Yeah.
don't think they would have believed like all the pain that, I was going through. And that could be said about so many of us because
Oh,
we're
you're not
just
wrong.
constantly trying to make sure we're fitting in and not letting anybody really know what's going on because there's so much fear in that. And so I didn't have that adversity in hockey, and I didn't really have that adversity in like school either, right? Because most of the time, not always, but in my experience, like if you're the one of the best hockey players, you're probably one of the best athletes, which means you're probably one of the alpha dogs in the schoolyard right from day one, which means, like all the things, right? And so I didn't really know what it really felt like. Like, sure, I had experiences where maybe I got a little bit of it, but really nothing major. And it wasn't until I went to, major junior, where I moved away from home, that I really started to feel what it was like to, not be included, to not be, certainly not the best. And a long ways from it, and that didn't feel very good, and I didn't know how to handle that. And it just made me want to run away and numb it out. And ultimately it made me quit hockey a couple of times just because I didn't like the psychological warfare that was going on almost every single day when I showed up to the rink. So
Right.
but yeah, different paths for sure. Like, through minor hockey, I lived for that identity as a hockey player because I just wanted to be, I wanted
Right.
so bad to be popular and liked and all the shit that has zero context in real life, later on. So it's so interesting when you look back, and I still sometimes feel like I'm a 16-year-old boy, right? But so much time has passed, and it's like you know so little and you think you know so much.
I still ask my grandpa with dementia, who's 86, like, Grandpa, how old do you feel? He feels 18. Like, I picked up early in life. Everybody feels so young in their damn minds. But yeah, so you're a poor Coquitlam kid. You got Ned on the team's like maybe the top guy, but you're like the grit sandpaper with the skill, right? Like, I always envision you as just Darcy Tucker from Port Coquitlam and not Canmore, Alberta, wherever the fuck he was from, right? Like, that's what I viewed you as a player. And you're coming up. Like, what's Ridge Meadows? PIJHL. Is that minor hockey?
No, that'd be like the Goj. That would be like the
Okay, so
equivalent of
you
like
that's
the Goj.
because back then guys were playing as like double underages in that league and
Yeah,
shit,
oh
right?
yeah,
So
yeah. So you could
and
see
you
I
were
played as a
drafted by
15-year old.
you were drafted in the Bantam draft?
No, I was not. I was not.
What?
No, I didn't get drafted.
Okay,
So
so take us the story. I don't know the Brady Leavold story. You were never
yeah,
cut and shit, but you weren't drafted? What the fuck?
yeah. So I'll tell you what happened. So out in BC, and I'm sure Ontario, I know everywhere has something similar, to like U16, U17, like, eventually U18 World Juniors, right? Like you start somewhere in your own zone, in your own region, and that's kind of what it was. So it was U16. Uh, I think that was it U15? No, it was U16. There's only U16 U17, but I think it was like 14 turning 15, right? Like it was my Bantam draft year, and the tryouts for this team were just before like the draft kind of thing, like leading up to the draft. And at the time, anybody could go try out for this zone team. Like if you thought you could make the team, you could go try out. And so, of course, I'm gonna go try out for my zone team. And like to your point, I was kind of like Darcy Tucker, but with like a little bit of like, or a lot more of like Sean Avery mixed in there. Like I was a
Mm,
really big pain in the ass.
mm.
Like zero, um, like zero fucks given. I will cross any boundary, like right from day one. Like even when I'm like 8, 9 years old, I would cut to the like I said things to people that I've had to go back and apologize as like a grown adult now. So like when I was a child, like I would have like it was because I was in so much pain, but also I was so competitive that like I would look for any edge to like get under your skin or to like try to win, right? And so I was savage. And like because of that, I go to this zone tryout and I was one of the only ones from like Port Coquitlam that went, you know? And so I didn't have any of my teammates there. And now all of a sudden I'm in and around a bunch of these guys that all hate my guts. Like all of them hate my guts. And a lot of them played spring hockey together and everything else. And this was really my first experience where I got like really alienated and bullied and like literally like my shit in the dressing room, my gear was getting messed with. And then like on the ice and the first day of tryouts, like guys were like butt ending me and spearing me. Not like one guy, but like 6, 7, 8 guys were all like, teaming up together to like take it upon themselves from different teams, but they're all like friends. And so I was just like done, man. Like I left like holding back tears after the first skate. And it was like one of those times where you got to be on the ice and working out like 3, 4 times a day for like 3 days trying to make this team. And it was just like the first ice time. And I remember going to my dad and I actually like told him, I'm like, Dad, like I think I'm like getting the flu. Like I'm sick. Like I literally faked sick and said like I can't go back because I just couldn't. I didn't want to go back to that. Like it was so horrible, and I'd never really felt that before. And so like it was just awful, right? And like I was already dealing with so much pain, and like I said, hockey was that constant. And by this time, like as much as I loved it and wanted to play in the NHL, like I told you, like I just really loved how it made me feel. I loved playing with my friends. I loved and now all of a sudden I had this really negative experience and I'm like, holy shit, like I don't want to go back. And like that was sort of like a huge dagger in my career in that moment because obviously I didn't make the team and I didn't even make the zone team. Everybody that made the zone team got drafted a month or two later. And even on draft day, I'm sitting there in, you have to remember this is like 2002, 2003. So the internet exists, but if someone picks up the phone, I'm probably getting kicked off the internet. Maybe not quite. I think we had cable internet, but it was close. And so I'm refreshing the draft on this old school WHL website, right? And pretty soon you see teams like pass. Like I'm seeing the word pass, 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 pass. Like they're passing. They could pick, but they're like, we're not even going to pick anybody. Like there's nobody else out there that we want. So we're just going to pass our picks like at the end of the draft, right? So, and of course, my name's not called. And I was, I was so upset. And so you have this thing where I quit basically because of that situation. But also I was pretty small. Like I was late to get to puberty. I
Mm.
was probably like 5'1", like 120, 130 pounds, but pretty skilled, could skate and like play was not like didn't play like I was 5'2" ever. But still, like this was an era of like big tough guys, Western Hockey League, especially back then. It was a different animal. It was a different beast. And so I never got my name picked, and that was enough to make me want to quit hockey because. I like I said, I'm competitive. Like, why am I going to keep playing if I can't play in the NHL? Like, I'm not going to play in the NHL if I didn't get drafted to the WHL. That like logically, that like I can't even make this. How am I going to make that? Right? And that was my mentality. And so I shut it down. I was like, I told my dad, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I don't even want to play hockey. And I ended up spending the summer just like up in the Okanagan, at my dad's summer place or his girlfriend's summer place, and just like water skiing and wakeboarding like all summer long. I actually wanted to become a wakeboarder. I wanted to find my identity in something else. Like all of a sudden now I'm a wakeboarder. Like change my email to like something to do with hockey to like something to do with wakeboard. My MSN name was like wakeboarder, da 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 da. Like, like I was all
MSN.
out. And all of a sudden now the summer ends and it's time to go back to time to go back to school or whatever. And it's like at the time, tryouts were at this time, not in spring like they are now, right? So like there are our local, it would be like our local U18 AAA team essentially. I would be like the youngest guy on the team at 15. I'm in grade 10 at the time. And I'm not going to tryouts because I quit hockey. Like I'm not going. And I didn't go to the first skate. And like I got buddies being like, the hell? Like, where are you, man? Like what's going on? And I'm like, nah, like I quit, blah, 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 blah. And actually, funny enough, it's all just kind of coming back to me now. It's interesting
I could tell.
when you start talking about stuff, but I'm pretty sure it was this guy, Kevin Peterson, who interestingly enough was my very first guest on my podcast, which was pretty cool. But he was a buddy of mine. He scouts for Utah in the NHL now, but he was a couple years older than me, and he was the one that was like, "Hey, man, like we could finally play together, like come on, like." And sure enough, I went. And I actually almost didn't make the team. I found out later that the head coach actually wanted to cut me. He hated my guts, always did. One of those guys that he was a coach's son, loved his own son, like so more than anybody I think I've ever seen in my life. Like gave him the captaincy, like the whole thing. But like, anyways, it didn't matter. He wanted to cut me. And interestingly enough, this year we actually brought in this new assistant coach. His name was Jeff Burrell, and he came over from this place called the Burnaby Winter Club. Anyone from Western Canada would know it's like the most prestigious place to play. Like recent people out of there playing like Matt Barzell, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, like Paul Correa played there. Like it's like if you are good, that's where you play. They smoked us all the time whenever we played them. And so he came over from there and he told me years later this story that you know, he wanted to cut you. And I actually said, like, I'm going to quit as a coach if you think you're cutting Brady because he's actually our best player. He's out of shape. He hasn't been on the ice for 2 months, but you're dumb if you can't see that, like, he's our best player. So you need to keep him. And so they did. And I worked through it. And we were kind of talking about the PIJHL playing as a double underager. And by the end of that year, I actually got called up. If you look, you could see I played a couple games with the Poco Buckaroos. So I'm playing junior B at 15. I scored in my first game. And all of a sudden, I got invited to try out for the U17. This year, you had to actually be invited. You couldn't just show up like you could the year before that I decided to quit. So I actually got invited. And, I made a very conscious decision. Like it was probably the most I ever locked in my whole entire life. It was it was honestly like it was destiny, like took over. Like there, like nothing was going to get in the way because these events needed to happen. And I got that invitation. I'm like, I'm making that team. Like, it doesn't matter what I got to do. I didn't know. I don't remember how much time I had to really prepare or anything like that. But I just know that on the day of, like, that the camp was going to start, it was a Friday, and it was out in Langley. I'll never forget it. Have to stay in a hotel for a night or two. Like first time, kind of like with another roommate, right? For me, anyways. And so like I still had to, I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I'm not going to school on Friday. Like it's too big of a day, Dad. Like I can't go to school. My dad, he's like, bullshit, Brady, you're going to school. Like, nice try, right? So I remember I had to go to school, but I had this old MP3 player. Like you only could have 21 or 22 songs on it, and then it was maxed out. So I cleared it and I put every song, Tom Cochran, Big League, on. And I went to my first teacher that morning at like 8 a.m. and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm here because I have to be, but I'm listening to my music. If you want to kick me out and just send me to the principal's office, you can, because I'm gonna tell the next teacher the same thing and the next teacher the same thing. But I don't care. This is like the biggest moment of my life. And every one of my teachers was like, do what you got to do, Brady. Like, whatever. I even told my girlfriend at the time, like, which was so out of context because I was the one that had let girls kill my career later on. But I'm like, don't even talk to me. Like, I got to do this. And sure enough, I went and I made that team. And then I ended up making like the next level after that, like top 40 in BC. And next thing you know, I'm getting, listed by Swift Current and, going to their training camp and beating out their first, second, third, fourth, fifth round picks to make the team as a 16-year-old. Ended up playing in one game and decided that I wanted to go back home and play junior. Just like again, I wasn't ready to move away from home. Like I didn't think going to that training camp that they were going to give me a piece of paper to sign and say, "Hey Brady, we want you to stay." Like I was going to play for Ridge Meadows, like you talked about. I was set. I was happy to quite happy to play there as a 16-year-old, get lots of ice time, be close to my girlfriend, be close to home. And now all of a sudden they're like, I had a really good training camp and they're like, "Hey, congratulations, we want to sign you." And I'm like, shit, like that, you should be so excited, right? Like in hindsight, I should have just been like, yes, I'm here. Like this is like, let's go. But I'm
Isn't that
like,
crazy how that works though? You're
crazy.
like you just said, like I just locked in. It was like nobody get in my fucking zone. And then you get there and you actually make it, and then you're like, wait, what the fuck? Like I think it just shows for everybody the split screen that our minds were going through. Mine went through my way. You're going through your way. You're living the trauma, but you're like, this is my safety. But wakeboarding, but this, it's just all over the fucking place.
Yeah, man. Like, and I'm just, and then, trying to figure it all out. And, so I went home and I played junior B and had like a really good year. Like
You
I shouldn't have
crushed
been,
it.
yeah, I shouldn't have been there. I got first team all-star, MVP of the all-star game, like rookie of
44
the
points, 38
rookie.
games,
Yeah.
99 PIMs. You're fucking animal, Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, so, and at the time, that league's changed a lot, like Junior B's changed a lot, but now, like back then, you could look at different rosters in that league, like, and a lot of guys that went on to play in the Western League played there at 15 and even 16 years old, like Kyle
Mhm.
Turris and Milan Lucic, and like all these guys went through that league, right? Like, and some older guys that probably, had a cup of coffee in the show too, and more like Carl Alsner, and like all these guys were in that league when I was playing. You can look, and so it was really good hockey, like all things considered. Not as good as the Dub, but it was a great place to kind of like develop, and I really enjoyed my year there, and then it was time to go to Swift Current, and I yeah, I just wasn't really ready for that, and just really, really struggled, man. Really struggled, like with
Moving
the
away from home to out there, right?
yeah, just and just like the even just like I got some really harsh stuff done to me, and I'm not gonna play the victim and do that. Because later on, like as an older player in the league, I did some bullshit things to players too. Like nothing on the border like is abusive. I'm not justifying like what happened to me, but still things that I'm like, come on, man, like really? Like forcing a 16-year-old to take a shot and like shaming them and everything else, like what is that, like that's not okay, and so and I just really got into alcohol as a a really unhealthy tool to cope or to think I'm coping, but I was very suicidal throughout my years in Swift Current, and yeah, I quit a couple times and ended up going back. Like you can see, I went to the BCHL. Like I got rookie of the year my first full year, but then quit the next year, 7 games in. I had like a complete mental breakdown and just like packed my truck and drove like whatever. I think it was like 15 hours straight. I barely had enough money for gas. Actually, I think I actually went to the lady that runs the office in the team crying, and I told her and was like, "Hey, can you just please like give me like $300 cash? I need to leave. Like I'll get my dad." She knew my dad. Like, I'll get my dad to like send it to you. And that's what I did. I just like drove like straight home thinking I could. I don't know what I was thinking. Like I was ready to quit hockey. I didn't want to play hockey. I felt like yeah, I just felt like the world was ending in my life, and the walls were closing in, and like in hindsight, like after everything I've been through now, like this was just very the start. Like, and I should have, I don't think I say should have because that's having the expectation, but I would, in some kind of like hindsight, I would love to know what the picture looks like had, in like a moment like that, instead of just like packing my truck and driving home. Like they're actually like we'll start then working through being able to. I obviously wasn't ready, and it's no worth looking back and wondering those things, but that is ultimately a time in my life that that's where it really kind of like started to come apart, and people started to kind of notice and try to help, and just the thought of anybody being able to help me was like what the fuck do you know? Like, you can't help me. Like, nice try. And if I tell you, then my hockey career is ruined, right? But
Right, dude.
ultimately, my choices and everything I was doing was ruining my hockey career anyways. It was a
Dude,
double-edged sword.
you had nothing to stand on, brother.
Yeah.
You had fucking your whole life built. They say don't build your house on sand. You had that shit built on fucking air, bro. Like
Yeah.
this is a time for just a little synopsis back for people of what you went through. You mentioned the abuse, but like you're also your mom, but like you had nothing to lean back on, brother. It
Yeah.
didn't matter how fucking great of a dad your dad was pulling together, doing everything he could. You like you said, you were so fucking locked in there, man, in your own mind.
Yeah. And like, I was so like, by this time I was really struggling. Like by 18, 19, I'm struggling with not just alcohol, but cocaine and ecstasy and like, and really, really, like where it ended, where my addiction inevitably ended 6 years ago was like as bad as you can get without dying. But the way that it started wasn't much different. Like the way that, the way that I drank, let's say, like was like excessive right from day one. You know what I mean? And maybe not like the first time because I'm a little bit, but after that, and I kind of had that first taste, it was like excessive, like keep going. I'm that guy that's like, come on, let's keep drinking. Like we're up all night. And then I find something, I can take something that's going to help me stay up longer and drink more. Okay, let's take that too. Now come, you know what I mean? And it was just such like a toxic, just it was so toxic for me and anybody else around me. And like a lot of the friends that were around me, like they weren't really into that. We didn't do that. And it was likely a lot of it was like things that I was, bringing in and around the group. And luckily a lot of my friends were able to say no, and I never really peer pressured them like that. But still, like it was just like, I don't know, once those gates kind of open, it was really hard to shut them off. And I think it's a really important message, when we're talking about youth, because until you know, you don't really know, right? It's like a nice thought to think, yeah, okay, okay, but not me. That's nice. That can happen to you, but not me. But until you've, had an experience with alcohol, or had an experience with drugs or whatever, like you have no idea, right? And so I always just say, like, take it from me, like you don't need those experiences. Like there's nothing good that comes from it. And unfortunately, our society and the culture, especially with alcohol, like I cannot believe how much it's pushed. Like it's yeah. Anyways, I'm going on a tangent,
No,
but
you're great. No, it's the betting, it's the alcohol, it's everything, dude. But as
yes,
you know, and
the betting, yes, the
it's
betting.
insane. It's insane. Like some of the guys I know and love that push that stuff, I just don't get it. I think they have enough money. I don't understand, but that's a story for another time. But like, just speak to the common person out there that just, we had a guy on my stream this week. Shout out Brendan Zenkowski, Brantford. Just his mind's just so fucking loud, dude. It's just so fucking loud, and I know I'm getting my hair's all standing up talking about because I've heard you speak about that what that was like, flashing forward to pro when you got those pills to hit your hand and you hear those pills hit it. But it was the same thing with the alcohol. It was the same thing, like you said. As soon as you went, oh shit, does this quiet this fucking thing down? I'm in.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly it, right? And it was just it killed the pain, and it was stick handling that killed the pain through my childhood. And then all of a sudden I find it in a bottle, and then I find it in a bottle and cocaine eventually. And then really really struggled with those things. And then an injury led me to Oxycontin, and got a prescription for basically heroin. I didn't know, like, it's crazy because I reflect back, and I actually, again, going through my dad's storage locker, found some of my old schoolwork. And in grade 11, I did a project on heroin. Like, I
Huh.
literally did a project on heroin. And
Oh,
I didn't retain any of the information, like zero. But I didn't, but no, like I obviously didn't know, like oxys weren't really a thing, I guess, like a few years prior, in at least in Canada. And so when I got prescribed these, I wasn't really given a lot of information, nor did I ask. And I think that's another big teaching point, is like we need to be advocating for ourselves and asking questions on anything. If like you're talking to a doctor and they want to put you on something, I'm not saying don't take it. I'm just saying ask questions, get all the information, talk to other people that have had experience, and figure out what all the side effects and what all the risks are. Because I was 21 years old. And I got myself into something that, like, honestly, like it almost killed me, and I didn't really know. I didn't even know that was possible. And so, and to your point, the first time I took those pills, like, was the greatest feeling that I had ever felt in my whole entire life. And, like, I don't say that lightly. Like,
No.
it was like someone finally got off my chest and I could breathe, and I didn't, like, hate myself for the first time my whole life. Like, it actually felt like, just felt light, and felt like someone, like, just love, like, and it's such a trick. And so, they say that, it kind of gives you that same effect as, like, looking at your brand newborn baby for the first time. Like, like, that's what you're dealing with. And so you just, this feeling is just incredible, especially when you have an enormous amount of pain and trauma. And so, like, I just started, taking them, and, like, I thought I found the answer, and really truly didn't understand the ramifications of the physical addiction that was gonna, come from this. I didn't realize that I couldn't just stop taking them, like some of the other stuff, which I didn't know isn't true either. Because if you drink every day to excess and you stop drinking, you can't just stop drinking either. My grandpa, bless his soul, died in his 80s of alcohol withdrawal, like on the floor of his bathroom, shaking because, he was trying to sober up and not tell anybody. And, like, there's so many dangers that I was so oblivious to as a young man, as a boy, with alcohol and other substances. And, I'm not playing the victim here, but I feel like there's just not enough awareness brought to this, even today. And maybe we can get into that later. But yeah, it really got a hold of me. And, once it did, it was like I was on this bus and somebody else was driving it, and I was never getting off of it. And I was now doing things and making choices that I didn't believe were possible. It was like a demon was running my life. And it's so bizarre because I just used to harshly judge people so bad. Get a job. What do you mean? Just, are you dumb? Like, just stop taking drugs, idiot. Like, what? Like, come on, man. Like, get off the street. And here I was, just so wrapped up in it for close to a decade. And what started with pills ended, in IV drug use. It led to heroin. And then by 2011, 2012, at least where I lived in the lower mainland of British Columbia, you couldn't find heroin anywhere. It was gone, and it was all fentanyl. And that's when we started to see all the overdoses, and I lost so many friends, like some people that, were legitimate childhood friends, and people I grew up with and loved dearly. And just had so many overdoses, and don't know, like, in a few cases, like, where people came from, and how I was brought back in certain cases with naloxone. Shout out to everybody out there that carries naloxone. You never know when you might come across somebody. I feel like it should just be carried, like, in all first aid kits too. It's crazy that it's not like legislated like that, but it is, available. Just if you don't know what it is, it's an agent that brings you back from overdose. And you see stories of it all the time, like everyday people that are saving lives out there. And that's what happened for me. I had people literally save my life, while I couldn't save my own, and keep me alive, and show me compassion when I couldn't show myself compassion, and met me where I was at. And eventually was able to work through it. But, through that addiction, I was homeless on the downtown east side in Vancouver, as many people know. Spent just under, like, total time, like, just under 3 years, in jail, which is a whole, I've never really talked about it a lot, which is a whole other trip, um, for another day, maybe. But, like, I've literally never openly, like, people that are closest to me, like Jenna, and, like, even, like, where I'm at now, Susan, and people that are, like, really close to me, have heard the crazy stories, and they're just like, whoa, right? But, like, because it's such a different life, right? But I always tell people, gave that, like, I'm really grateful for all those experiences. I never want to do it again. I shouldn't have survived it. But it gave me a very, very unique perspective on a lot of different worldly issues that I've always sort of, whether I knew it or not, had a lot of passion towards. Like, even as a young boy, like who I truly am, and what makes me feel joy, and what makes me feel like I have purpose, like being of service and things like that. Like, I just didn't know how to do it because it was never like cool as a kid. Like, you weren't cool doing those things, but really we should be trying to, like, that is the coolest thing you could do. Like, what are we talking about, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just all over the place here, but
It's
it was
beautiful, brother. No, no. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
it,
We're taking this thing wherever it goes. You never know how a fight's gonna go. You never know how a guy's
it's
gonna throw
right,
an
man.
uppercut. He's gonna fucking do a different technique on you. I mean, I have the list of the guys. You're fighting Brett Sutter, fucking Brendan Dillon, fucking Olson, all these absolute big boy heavyweights with names and stuff. But
You
this is
know
where
who's
the
not on
competition.
there? You know
Who's
who's
that?
not on there? His name? Well, there's a bunch on there because it wasn't hockey fights, and I'm not proud of it. But in my life, especially in those 3 years in jail, I probably had just as many jail fights as I did hockey fights.
I don't doubt it.
And there's one story I thought about this earlier today. It's crazy. This guy's name is Brandon Texiera, and I'll send you the I will send you the video of this after. So there was this issue while I was in jail, right? And, like, honestly, dude, like, there's no way around it. There's no, like, being the better person or, like,
No,
whatever,
no.
because if you do that, you're gonzo and your life is like living hell in there. So you have
Yep,
to play the games. So,
yep.
like, that's what I did. And so, anyways, I found myself in this situation where all of a sudden, like, I literally have to fight a guy in my cell, which is, like, not very big, with the door locked, and it's kind of crazy. Like, anything can happen. You don't know if they have a weapon. Like, I'm not a weapons guy. Like, I'm not trying to, like, I'm just, like, defending because I have to do this, right? So I have no idea who this guy is, really, because, and there was an issue, and I don't want to, like, talk about all that, but just needless to say, we ended up having to fight in this cell. And so I ended up, like, hearing after, like, after the fight, the guards kind of, like, caught on to it like 5 minutes in. It was crazy, by the way. Like, I don't want to talk about the fight, but insane, like, locked in this cell. And so, anyways, the guards knew that it was my cell, and he came into my cell. So, like, the rules are you're not really allowed to go in somebody's cell unless they invite you in. And clearly, if this guy came into my cell and we get in a fight, he wasn't invited in. So the rules are he gets taken out of the range. I got to stay in my place, but they separate you. Now he's gone, right? So after he leaves, this other guy that I did know, because this guy was new, he comes to me, and this guy was like a certified gangster. I could send you his name too. I don't want to say his name here. I just got to know him in there. He goes, buddy, he goes, you have no idea who that guy was. And his exact words were, he's like, and I swear to God, he's like, that guy was a shooter. I didn't even know what that means. I'm like, I don't know what that is. He's like, dude, like, he's like a hired hitman for gangs on the outside. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I just, like, smoked him in my cell. Like, that's just whatever, right? Like, wasn't a very big guy. He was like me, and I kind of got the better of him. So, anyways, you fast forward a few years later, KG, and another guy I was in there with sends me a Facebook message, who was my cellmate, who was in the cell at the time of the fight. Like, while it was happening, he was just on his bunk. He sends me this thing, and he goes, hey, check out your buddy. And I'm like, my buddy? Like, what? He sends me this link, and it was like from, like, California, FBI takedown. Like, this guy was Canada's most wanted guy, wanted for, like, murders in BC. Yep. And they've got him in California in, like, a full-on standoff, fugitive takedown on the news. And I'm just like, oh my God, I hope that guy stays in there forever. Like, I hope he never gets out. Like, it was crazy, right? And my buddy's like, you're so lucky, man. Like, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, so you talk about a crazy fight story. I'm not proud of it, but I was thinking about it today, and I'm just like, man, like, what a life. And I'm on the other side here, and, like, I'm just living such a different life, and there's, like, zero part of me that has any desire to show, like, any violence towards anybody. And, like, that's why I don't even want to play men's league hockey anymore. Like, I think that, like, I played senior hockey a couple years ago,
You're nuts.
and, dude, I was a fucking animal. I couldn't turn it off either.
No,
Like,
you
not
can't. You
only
flip the
were people,
switch.
yeah, like, people were coming at me, but I'm also coming at people. Like, and I'm an animal when I put my gear on, and I'm like, this is not how I want to live my life. Like I just like I'm proud that I played hockey. There's a part of me that I'm proud that I, could take off my gloves and my helmet at center ice in front of a big crowd and stand in there and have no fear. Like as crazy as that sounds, like there's some part of me that's like, yeah, like that I'm proud of that because that's like facing some level of fear. I never want to do it again, though. I never ever want to do any part of that again. And it's not that I don't support it. Like guys that do it, I love, like, all the power to you. But as far as me at 39, almost 39 years old, it's like I just want to love on people. I want to find a relationship with like God and just like, show my, my family and other people what it is to really like, love on
Mm,
people. And
dude,
part of that journey is still learning, how to love myself
of course.
and through like that story of like obviously when you're in jail you're not loving on yourself and you're not loving on anybody. And I did a lot of things that of just like pure survival, that I just I know I'm never going to have to do it again unless we're not going to go there.
Absolutely.
But unless the world
Oh,
keeps going
dude,
the way it's going,
dude, it's
I don't
dude,
think
it's
I'm never
beautiful.
gonna I'm not gonna go there. So
Dude,
yeah,
it's beautiful, man. And
crazy story though.
no, we'd be on here for 2 weeks going straight with crazy stories, brother. You got so many of them, but like you said, and you took it through such a nice arc there of now you just want to serve people. I couldn't agree more with. I support it. I talk on it. I love it, but I will never do it again. Just want to love on people. But you get through this time, you get back on the ice, and then this whole thing starts. You do start showing up for that fight in life, not on the ice anymore. You say, I'm fucking leaning in now. You start doing the work. Like you said, you get support, then you start puck support, the Sportsnet feature, the story goes public. You've told your story now thousands of times over the last 5 years. And you've set out the top, and we've been talking about it. Like, what has it felt like to go through that now? Finding yourself and loving yourself in sharing the burnout, also being a station for people to go, oh, he's talking openly. I can message him about my kid just died. This kid's struggling. It just piled in on you in a different way. What
Yeah.
has that journey been like? Because I know that's what's really been on you lately.
Yeah. I mean, it's been honestly the last 6 years have been it's been incredible in the fact that so many miracles have happened, and I've developed some of the best relationships and friendships, and literally created like family that isn't blood, in a lot of cases. Um, and just it's I've seen the beautiful work that community can really do, and like directly in my own life and also in the lives of others. But I think early on, I had a lot of gas in the tank, um and really just gave my all with zero expectation of anything in return for like a long, long time. And because I really felt like it was the right thing to do, it's like I felt like that's what I was called to do. And I was like called, I had a spiritual awakening to just like, hey, just trust this process. Everything's going to take care of itself. And just kind of like keep doing your thing. And a big part of that was helping support people and trying to help as many people as I could. And when you first start, right, like anything, it's a lot easier, right? There's less people reaching out, and then you get more people and more people and more people, and it's sort of like it's kind of sad because we're not meant we're not really meant to connect with that many people, and we're not meant to take on that much as like I want to and people want to. Just as humans, like we're not meant to be connected with people all over the world directly, instantly. Like we're just not. I truly believe that. We're meant to live in communities and have real human connection and real relationships, and within that, then you can manage and be able to show up, for other people in the right way. But after a while, with social media, it gets to be too hard, and it would really wear on me. And you could ask my partner Jenna, like there'd be nights where I'd be like staying up all night trying to answer messages, and waking up like feeling guilty that I haven't responded to all these messages, and it was weighing on me really, really heavily. And, it got really dark, like actually, because I was just trying so hard. And just was like, through that, not only was I neglecting myself, I was also like neglecting my own family's needs. And there's even still like a part of that I'm still trying to figure that out, because it's hard to shut off. But like it was really, really, really challenging. And so I've had to just learn how to like compartmentalize and realize that I can't help everybody directly. And the best thing that, we can do is just lead by example, and that's it. And, when you have the opportunity to connect with somebody, especially in person, then that's great. And, I have different opportunities where, I do speaking events, and I don't, I'll stay there as long, like if somebody brings me in to speak, especially, like I'll stay there as long as I need to. As long as like if people want to keep talking to me or ask me questions, or they feel like they want to have a chat right then and there, like I got all the time in the world then and there. But it's hard. Early on, the hardest thing that I had to learn was that you can't really help people that are in it still, like as far as substance abuse. Like I was talking to a lot of people who would be like either high or drunk, right? And they'd call me when they're drunk, and I'd spend like 3 hours on the phone with this drunk guy. And then like the next day I try to call them when they're sober, nothing, nothing, nothing. And then they call me when they're drunk. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to stop doing this. Like we're not getting anywhere with that. Right. And so I just feel like I hear you say it often, right? Just keep shining your light, and just that's all we can do. And that's just kind of what I'm trying to learn to do. And I've had to, take my foot off the gas in a lot of things. I pulled the plug on my podcast. It's not like I'm never going to do it again, but I haven't done one in a year. Maybe there'll be a time when I'll pick it back up. Even like puck support has, taken a bit of a dip, just because I've had to, put my energy and time into other things, and that's part of, growing and life changing, and yeah, and so there's definitely things that have, unfortunately, like I said, taken a dip, but definitely have plans to kind of revamp certainly the things that mean the most, like puck support, and hopefully one day my podcast too.
Brother, so beautifully articulated, man. And that's what I speak on all the time. We gotta, the only thing you could do is just shine your light as bright as you fucking can, man. That's all you
Yeah.
can do. And the way you're speaking, and even your post this Sunday, and the way you've shared more about this, and we haven't got too much into this in our times. We cross paths at hockey charities, hockey helps the homeless and stuff. But I feel like this is a great time to lean into that, that you're speaking more about spirituality and your relationship with God. And tell me
Yeah.
how that's factored in from when did that enter? When did that really accelerate? And where are you at now with it, and how it's influencing how you're showing up for your family and life?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I feel like I've always had a relationship with God on some level. I just didn't really understand, and still obviously will probably be working through some of that. But I would say, like, through junior, I went to all the chapel services that were offered and really, really enjoyed it, but also felt like almost like shame in it, because it wasn't like cool, and
Mm,
and all of that. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that with different things, but I always felt like in my heart it was the right thing. And so I feel like, just kind of to blend this in there, I've just noticed in my own life that when I'm actually following my intuition and following that path, that's when like miracles or destiny, you know, happens. And it's sometimes hard and it's uncomfortable. And that's the whole point, right? That's like the essence of life. That's like the point of life, I think. And so, like, yeah, so I felt like I've always had this connection with God, but felt like, kind of like ashamed. And, I can say that because I think a lot of people connect with that, because it wasn't cool. And then, definitely when I was incarcerated at the end there, is when I really started to find God. I did a lot of different Bible studies. I read the Bible, was meeting with the chaplain in there as well, and that was when I really in there decided to turn my life over to God. And again, like I didn't really know, but I that's when it kind of happened. And then when I got out is when, my life really started to take a turn, and had some other things, some spiritual, experiences. And I've kind of over the last 3, 4, 5 years, always had, prayer has always been a part of my life daily throughout the day for the last 6 years, like all the time. And that's always remained as part of it. But I would say a lot in the last 6 months. I would say we've brought prayer into our house as a family. Before bed and at meals, like with my daughters, and going to church, and again, just trying to find that relationship with like the creator, with a higher power. We're going to like a Christian church. I'm open to hearing everything, and listening to ever, I would love to learn more about all religions. I think the more that I look at it, I think there's a lot more the same than there is difference. And so, I'm just trying to, like I said, I just want to learn how to love on people and be the best version of myself. And like, I have such a long ways to go. And I feel like now more than ever, the world is throwing us more distractions and trying to pull us and each other further and further away from each other. And it's been really, really challenging, at least in my life, to stay, I feel like stay connected to my true self, my true calling. Because like a lot of people, there's these distractions. Some people will say it's, the devil, or whatever, right? It doesn't always have to be alcohol or drugs, but it could be other things, just little distractions that, take me away from my highest self, or whatever. And so, the next couple years, and I guess the rest of my life would be, kind of just like really trying to figure that out, and trying to really understand what it means to live a life that is, your true self, like where you're not, trying to impress anybody or fit in here. And, like I'm not nothing like I was as a teenager, but there's still some level of that,
Mm.
especially now that I'm a little bit more well established, right? Like when I first started, dude, like I was on welfare. Didn't have any fake teeth. Like I did not give a shit. I did not care. I'm like, I don't even have any friends. Like I got nothing to lose. Like, because like whatever, I'm just gonna be me. And I did, right? And it worked. And it's like, okay. And then, as I started to, evolve, obviously we are all going to change, and there's going to be some growth. But all of a sudden you get like, you see that, certain people are now following you and watching your stuff, and it's like, oh, do I really want to be talking like that? And do I really? And it's like, so I've gone through that over the last few years, you know what I mean? Where it's almost just been like, again, falling into the same kind of traps. And then it's like, hey, what am I doing? Like, no, like, because once I do that, then I start, falling away in other areas of my life too, right? And so like a big one for me, like, and people are, I share this with people. Like for me, I know like something as simple as like walking past, like if I notice like a piece of garbage on the ground, it's not even my garbage, but if I decide that I notice it, and I'm not just going to be a good human and just pick it up and put it in the garbage, like that in itself is enough to set me off like to a complete full on relapse. Like it could, like little things like that, like something so small. And so that's why now I have to be like, vigilant, like the first 4 years of my recovery, it was like, and people always say this, like your fifth, sixth, seventh year becomes like harder because like you're not running on all this adrenaline, and it's like rah rah, you're 1 year clean or in recovery, woohoo, like everyone's all excited. After a while, it's like, okay, like you're 5 years, like what now? Like what have you done in 5 years? Like what are you going to do in the next 5 years? Like you have to live, like you have to still live like a life. You can't just be living in the past all the time. And so it's been, yeah, it's been challenging. It's been interesting. But I feel like my relationship with God, and like having my family as part of it too, has been like a really, just like a really, really positive thing in all of our lives right now. And yeah, so just looking forward to exploring more of that, and yeah, and we'll see where it kind of goes from there. But
That's
um, part of it is like, again, like owning it, right? And that's a big part of it. And there's a lot of people out there that I think are feeling more than ever called to God, called to spirituality with the state of the world. And there's like, at least that's what I see, that's what I feel.
mhm.
And I just wish we could, all live in a world where, like, if we didn't have to live in fear of what, other people thought of us. Like, it's
Seriously. Why can't we
such
just
a
love God and love thy neighbor? It should be
yeah,
that fucking simple,
yeah.
man. But
I know. I
dude,
know.
that was a great share. I mean, it's so true. I mean, at some point, people, like you said, people don't want to own it, but at some point, if you're struggling out there, someone, you start to realize that everybody who gets clean is saying the same thing, and it's facing this motherfucker and whatever that means to you. That you can't. There's no other way around it. You can't go over the boulder. You can't go around the boulder. You got to go through the obstacle. There's no other way, and that's just the way it is. And you
Yeah.
have to fill your mind and your life with these stories that this is the case, because you're another example of that, brother. So then, as this is part of it, this question just really wanted to ask you, because I find it so fascinating. Because is there anything being a father, is there anything about being a father to your girls and how you show up now and how you're learning how to show up that scares you more than being in prison, your own journey has ever given you? Like, is there something now that is like your next greatest challenge, besides taking care of yourself, like being a father? Like, that must be crazy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, as crazy it is as it is, like, it's like my greatest joy in my life, and it always was. Like, I have older kids, out west, and obviously through my, 11, 12 years of addiction, lost my relationship with them, and it's been a really slow build. My daughter just turned 18, and like, she won't speak to me at all. And then my son, he's a 2009 birth year, so he's 16, he'll be 17, and he basically only, messages me when he needs new skates or something like that. So, it's hard, right? Like, I always loved being a dad. I was in their lives till they were like 6 and 7, and towards the end of it, I was definitely not, all there, but I was, seeing them till they were 6 and 7, and then, I haven't seen them since. So it's been really challenging. So that's been hard, and just trying to, like, work through that. And then, through that, I also have my two beautiful girls here in Muskoka that, you know, I've I decided, like, a while ago, that I couldn't, there's only so much I can control with the situation. And, instead of, beating myself up every day and, being a horrible human because I'm so distraught that my kids in BC won't talk to me and I don't have a relationship with them, that I can't, show love to anybody else. And that's sort of the way that I lived my life for a long time. Like, I never really talked about, but it really, really impacted me. Like, there's some really crazy stuff that happened in and around that, not just like Brady's, using drugs and can't see his kids. Like, there was a lot of other like nasty drama that happened in there. And so, like, it was just really hard. And so for a long time, I was living with, like, so much resentment and so much, just hatred in my heart. And just, ultimately I was the one that was paying the price, and of course my kids too. But, I made a decision that, like, one day, if I just keep doing the right things and it's meant to be, then I'll have a relationship with them again. But there's nothing more that I can do. I can't, they're like young adults. Like, I can't force it. I can't do anything. But what I can do is I can show up, and it can show up to the best of my ability to the people in my life, like my daughters, like, here. So it's been really hard to learn how to like, compartmentalize all of that. But I feel like, being a father has been the greatest joy of my life, especially now that I've had, like, essentially like a second chance at it. So I have like a 2.5 year old and a 5.5 year old, two little girls. And yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to think about, them growing up and dealing with a 16-year-old Brady coming over. Like, I don't know how I'm going to handle that. But, I feel like, with my experience and the people that we have around our girls, I feel like they're going to be in a really great place to, make decisions, and I'm sure they're going to make ones that they're going to wish they didn't, like all of us, and they're going to probably know what it's like to love, and they know what it's going to like, know what it's going to, or sorry, know what it means to hurt, and to be heartbroken, and all those things, and yeah, that's going to be hard, but I don't know, it's a lot more joy than fear, I would say, when it comes to definitely being a dad. But yeah, I mean, like, listen, like, life is hard, dude. Like, it's there's a lot of pressure, financially and stuff, I think, in a lot of people's lives right now. And you can just feel it, right? And so there's just more that we can do as people, I think, every day, just showing up with kindness, and just, wherever you go, whoever you meet, like, just decide today that you're going to be kind, and go out of your way to like make somebody's day. Imagine everybody did that every day. It'd be a really wonderful place to live, and it's just, yeah, it's a tough go for a lot of people, myself included. Like, 6 years in recovery. There's been moments where, I've had thoughts of like relapse, certainly early on, just like anybody. I've had like using dreams, like right up until like not any that recent, but recent enough where you wake up and you're like, oh my God, like, did I like, it's crazy, right? So like, you still go through all these things, and I still deal with, pretty severe, like, mental health issues, and I'm not the easiest person to live with and deal with, and all the things, and I have a lot of work that I still need to do on myself, like a lot of work, that probably I need to lean into more, and yeah, and I think that's probably the point of life, is to just, for me, I couldn't, I always used to say, like someone would ask me, I'm forgetting the wording, but basically, like, what are you looking for? Or something, like, looking for the meaning of life or something like that. When someone would ask me, like, how you doing? I'm like, it'd be great if you could show me the meaning of life or something. Something along those lines. I used to always like word it in a way like that. And just one time, my friend, out of the blue, he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, the meaning of life? He goes, the meaning of life is to give life meaning, bro. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, you answered my question, right? And so then I thought about it. And like, to give life meaning is to really step into your true self, because there's so many, for me, there's been so many different things across my life, and that have just been like pushed me to, make me want to conform to something else, or to be someone else, or to, follow someone else, And that's not to say that, following someone, or like, you want to follow a religion is not the right thing. But I just mean, like, really truly stepping into what I know is, right for me, what is right for you, what is like, if you really sit there in prayer and meditation, and you actually download the information, and you can take that and you can live it, like, to me, that I think is what we're supposed to be doing here, is to, figure that out. And if you don't, I don't know what happens, but I feel like you gotta come back and do it all over again. So I don't know. Who
Hey,
knows?
hey, that's not a Christian view, but hey, that's you're
I know.
open to it. You're open to it, and that's what I love. I love the David Bowie quote, right? He said, religious folks are scared of hell, spiritual people have been there. And then I think there's
Yeah,
levels to this game where we're all learning at different places. And I call it Earth School. My grade teacher calls it Earth School.
I like
Brother,
that.
I think you nailed it. Your buddy nailed it. Life, what makes it so beautiful is it inherently has no meaning, and you get to give it the meaning. That is the
Yes.
absolute gift. There's nothing you have to do, but lean into, I'm here for a reason. Let's go on a journey to discover what that is. And that's where the fight plan gets its name, because we come into this world and we're basically taught that we got to fight, scrap, and claw to find love, whether it's through
Yeah.
hockey, through the pills, through next thing, through the next thing. But it's about dropping the fight, man. And it's how you're speaking now. If you just want to be on loving on people, and it's giving up the fight,
Yeah.
and if anything, it's taking the external fight and turning it in on yourself, and then giving up that fight. Because man, I think we're here to realize we're not this meat monkey spacesuit that's got my fears and my worries and my trauma, and I used to be addicted to this. Like, we're here to transcend all that shit, man, and we can paint it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that, I'd like to kind of, again, to talk about it. There's just so many things in this world to try to pull you away from being that painter. You know what I mean? Like they want you to be anything but that, anything but paint your own canvas. You know what I mean? They want you to fall in line and to, and it's so hard and to distract you and instead of finding out who you really are, let's, get you zapped into this device and doom scroll for the next 4 hours instead of actually working on ourselves. Like, I probably spent so many of my hours just like on my phone, like, yeah, doing some work a lot of the time, like being productive, like getting stuff done. But then how many times like where I'm like, whoa, how did I get here? The hell am I doing over here? Okay, back to what I was doing. Like, whoa, and so it's really quite it's fucking terrifying, dude. Like you go out in public and listen, I'm no better than anybody else. Like you go out in public and like nobody's fucking talking to anybody. Like, they're just like, you go on a bus, like I remember like you used to go on a bus and people like would just kind of like you could like smile at people or whatever. Not that I'm on the bus ever anymore, but like SkyTrain. I was in Vancouver like a little while ago. I took like my daughter on the SkyTrain when I was home and like nobody is like paying attention to anything that's going on around them. I'm like, this is bizarre. Like, it's just a totally different world than what you and I grew up in. And
Why do you think
yeah,
it's like
it's
that? Why do you think it's like that? Why do you think? Because I hear you speak on some things, and I hear where you're talking. I'm plugged into all this stuff. I study everything. Why do you think the world is that way, where they're farming attention, and why do you think it's like that?
yeah, I don't know why it's like that. I know that people take the path of least resistance all the time, comfort every time. Like not everybody every time, but for the most part, like it's hard to, to actually do something that, forces us to feel uncomfortable, whether that's looking at our how we look. We want to you lose weight, or we want to work on our personality traits, or whatever it is. Like like it's really hard to do. And so like when you can look at somebody else's life and start, you know, comparing yourself to like somebody else and being like, and a lot of it is like, oh shit, like I'm nowhere near that person. It's actually less depressing. But I don't know what it is. I just think people are more interested in staying in a comfort zone of like being here than actually putting it down and feeling what it feels like to experience life, which, to get places, you inevitably have to go through pain. And people, I think, like now more than ever, are afraid of pain, like emotional pain. Like we don't know as a society, like people, we don't know how to deal with it anymore. Like it's like you're like a bad person now if you do certain things that in past we're just like, come on, like have some thick skin here. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's the world's just gone to a completely wild wild state. And I'm not sure what the overall agenda is. I'm not sure. I'm a very much into conspiracies. I'm very much into different views and hearing other sides. I do not trust the government one bit. I will say that I don't care what party it is or anything. They've given me zero reason anytime to trust them or believe anything that they're saying. So I don't watch the news. I don't follow world events, unless I really see it because it drives me up the wall because I just feel like we're living in a world that like like I don't know, like there's nobody good that can make any good decisions. Like everybody up there is making evil decisions, it seems. Like I'm not for war, I'm all for peace. Like I understand it. I could like, there's other things that I have no information on, so like I can't comment on. But I'm just not for this war. I'm for love. I'm for peace. I'm for bringing back Canada the way that it was when I grew up. And I don't recognize that place anymore, dude. Like, look at the homelessness everywhere and the cost of living and we're all not allowed to talk about it, and I don't have the answers. I don't know who to vote for because I don't trust any of them. I don't know what the right answer is. But what I do know is that we're living in a world that would rather keep us distracted than rather see us unite and actually, you know, fix some of these problems that are inevitably torching this country, like and the United States for that matter. Like I don't know how much you like to talk about this stuff on your podcast, but
Oh,
it's
I
like
do. This is the fight plan. We are. It's, wait till you see the people I'm gonna have in the future. UFC people. I'll have anybody on this thing that's willing to speak their mind because we have to have these conversations. We have to speak about it because ultimately, I'm a human too. I'm living in this meat monkey spacesuit, and why I suffered is because I
yeah,
believed it, and I believed I had to be this person and fight these problems. But man, like, so
yeah.
I got to ask you because for me, it's the reason I'm still here is where does your faith come into that discussion of what you lean into to get you through the day when all those things are caving in on you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Just very much in like the last, I would say it was like maybe 9 or 10 days ago, I had this experience. Something was going on, and in past, like, it's tons of anxiety, tons of fear, just constant worrying, and it really, like, it's not only damaging emotionally and spiritually, but like to the point where like I can feel myself getting physically sick sometimes, like with
Mhm.
stress and like, yeah, like, so it's been tough, but just in like the last like 8 9 days, I had this really strong spiritual experience where, like, and granted, I've always been, like I said, I've been praying a lot. I'm very interested in indigenous healings and like smudging and that stuff, like the creator. And so, like I said, I'm kind of like trying to explore all this. But recently I had this problem going on, and for whatever reason, like for the first time, I actually understood what it meant to have faith. Like, just being like, Brady, like, yeah, like this is, this is a problem in your life, but like just let it go. Like God's got this. You're going to be fine. Everything is going to work out. Like, just let it go. And I've tried to do that in the past, and I've had people say that, and I'm like, yeah, 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 I'll do that. And then it's like, and I've never felt that, up until like 8 or 9 days ago. And so I've felt this like shift. And so I don't have a lot of experience, I would say. It's relatively new in my life. But I remember, like, I have a mentor, he's like my best friend, and we connected through hockey and his son, and like I work with his son and stuff. He's like a junior player, and but we've really connected on like different like levels after that. I come to find out he's been a big influence from like a faith perspective in my life. But I actually called him like right away. I'm like, you're never gonna believe it. Like, for the first time, like, this happened, you know what I mean? And so it's interesting you say that, because it's all new in my life, I would say, like actually trying to just like really understand what it means to like give it to God, and give it to the universe,
Ooh,
and just let go, like,
ooh,
because there's so much that we can't control, that if you're trying to hold on to it. I don't want to say you or I'm going to say me, because I can only speak for me. Is like, if I keep trying to hold on to it, I'm going to end up, you know, I'm going to end up sick, lonely, tired, um, and I'm not going to get to where inevitably I want to go, and I feel like I'm meant to go, if
oh,
I don't get
brother,
out of if I don't get out of my own way here. So,
brother. What you're speaking on right now is so beautiful. I felt that question come through to ask you, and what you're describing for people is like we learn, like you read the Bible, we learn through stories and parables. There's a great teacher who said this analogy of what you just went through. It's like all of us out here, our whole lives. It's like we have all this luggage, two suitcases, a backpack, got something on our head, we're holding everything, and you get on a train, and for some reason we think we have to stand on the train and hold all this fucking luggage. The
I know.
train has the weight, man. Put it down, take a seat, and relax. You know,
Yeah,
this whole thing is moving around you. It's not going to care when you're gone. This is life's been here and doing its thing. Just let go, relax. What's for you literally cannot miss you logically. So what you just experienced was like the logical understanding finally becoming embodied and integrating. Dude, that is
yeah,
magical.
yeah. It was cool, man. It was a great feeling. It was like a true, real feeling, and that's why I was so excited to like call my friend, and it just felt really, really great. And so, yeah, just continuing trying to lean into that, and yeah, like, I don't know, like, I'm going to Christian church. I'm not baptized. I'm looking at potentially getting baptized. there's a lot of stuff that I feel very connected with, and then there's still some stuff that I have questions on, and I think that's normal.
Mhm.
And so I just want to keep trying to develop that relationship with God, higher power, creator, whatever it is. And yeah, and so it's been really cool to be able to step into that and then be able to give that leadership, that gift to my family as well. So
Well, also on the ice, brother, like you're giving it to your family, your friends, your spiritual
yeah.
community around you, but now you're like in this love affair back to hockey where it all started, but now you're coming at it from the complete opposite perspective. And that's what you're leaning into away from the speaking, a double tripling down on the ice with the kids, right?
Yeah, yeah, and like it's a big responsibility. You have a big responsibility if you're working with youth, whether it's athletes or anything. It's a massive responsibility. They are very much impressionable, and a lot of them hang on every word, depending on what age you're working with. And so it's a really cool opportunity. I don't take it lightly. Something that I feel I worked really hard to get back in my life again, to get that trust, to have parents, come and trust me with their kids after, I was in jail for, almost 3 years and homeless and very addicted and did some really horrible, horrible things, to support that addiction. But I've worked hard to be able to build up my reputation with actions, not just words, but with actions, and it feels really great. And that's one of the things that I'm maybe most proud of is being able to be trusted, with kids. It's an incredible thing to be able to, stand there on the ice and have kids, listen. And I'm not just teaching them a drill, like especially the kids. I care less about the drills and more about making sure that they're understanding, to thank their parents and make sure the dressing room is clean and there's no tape on the floor and everything, and then the big reward is when the parents, will say, hey, like, my son or my daughter is like, saying thank you and is a lot more polite. And, like these like
Wow.
things that, these kids, like a lot of them, they're never going to play in the NHL. Like they're not even trying to play in the NHL. And some of the younger kids, it's not always AAA or whatever. So what can you do other than trying to make them a better hockey player? And I don't care who you're working with. You always have those opportunities, those moments where you can have that influence. Even like for like I work with like pro guys, as you know, and stuff too. Like same thing with them. Like no different. Maybe the message and the delivery is different and maybe a little less infrequent, but I'm still always trying to sprinkle little bits of life and trying to help them in other areas than just making them a better hockey player. So
Mm.
it's but yeah, I think it's a really important thing to understand that when we're working with kids, when we're working with youth, that the way that you deliver a message, the way that you get through them, the way that you treat them, the way that you make eye contact with them or don't, like it really has an impact. So I've really been seeing a lot of these videos recently on this kind of stuff, on like really stopping and understanding like how impressionable these kids are, right? And how much of an impact you're having. And maybe not so much for someone like me doing like these camps, but like these coaches that are coaching teams and being very, very hard on these kids. Like they're 10, 11, 12 years old and you're screaming at them and calling them pieces of garbage basically in front of their teammates and stuff. Like I've been there. It happened to me when I was a kid, like, and that really can be damaging, and so I just think, if anyone's listening to this, really think about, who you're dealing with and where they're at. And instead of trying to tear them down, can we build them up? Like that doesn't mean you can't criticize them and coach them and be stern and keep them accountable, but like can you do it in a way that also builds them up? Like it doesn't make them want to quit the sport. Like I get a lot of messages like that, like of parents that have just having a horrible experience. The most common ones I get are bullying ones, sports betting ones. My 13-year-old's addicted to sports betting. I got him. In a lot of cases, the parents are getting them started, right? Like saying, "Oh, it's just not that big of a deal. Let's pick a couple games. We'll do whatever." And now these kids their brains are getting these their brains are literally getting wired, to become like addicted, and so it's very dangerous. And then we have, other people in our space, I would say, that are just constantly promoting alcohol and their brands. And, I just hate to be that guy and to be like the fun police, but just being mindful that you do have a lot of impressionable youth. And I've heard really just tough stories with like alcohol and certain, brands and alcohol poisoning and different things over the last like 6 years. So, I just think, again, there's that fine balance between, you know, having fun and what is your audience and all those things. And I'm sure a lot of these people don't care because they're just making money, but there's got to be more to life than just lining your own pockets. And that's sort of the way I've been living my life. Not no much to my family's you know it's at their expense. I could probably do more for chasing money and things. Like when I had a podcast, the only I always got offers for like alcohol companies, and I'm like, I can't promote alcohol. They're like, well, what about our non-alcoholic brand? And I'm like, no. And then it's like the sports betting companies, they all want to pump out money on podcasts. I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I can't do it, guys. Like, I can't do it. Like, people are losing their families because of this. Like, and
That's what took my dad. That's what took my dad, everybody. So it's that thing, right? It's the constant, the gun doesn't pull the trigger itself. Somebody has to pull it. It's like, so the only thing we can talk about, I know it, it's Pink Whitney, it's the whole manosphere, it's all that bullshit. I just look at it that that's where these guys are at, and I can't influence that other than shining my light, right? So this podcast will never have an ad like that. Your podcast, your things will never have, and that's okay. And people ultimately have to decide where they put their attention. You and I are going to put attention out on love and light, and hey, that's all we can do. The people who are ready for it
but
will pick up on it. The other kids that are going to be
people
13
like to
drinking
be
Pink Whitney,
people like
it
to
is.
people like to be comfortable, right? They'd rather take in that like that just like that numb content that is stupid, that doesn't even make you think, that's like content, than rather listen to something that challenges who they are as people, and really looking at themselves and talking about real world issues and all those things, right? Like, it's easier for people to just you know laugh at a story, and which is fine. Like, you're
Yeah.
like, have at it. Like,
Yeah, we've been
it's
there.
great.
That's why you and me could talk about it because we've been there. We're not going to hypocritically say I've been fucking perfect my whole life. Like we've gone through it to understand it.
Oh
Some
yeah.
people haven't gone through it, so they don't understand like we used to. Who are we to
So
fucking judge?
crazy perspective, like, to be in it and then to leave the game for like almost a decade, and then to be back in it at all levels, from like youth up to pro. Like, I've seen it with like the parent BS and the politics and the way that hockey players talk, like even like young hockey players. Like, you see certain like influencers like asking girls, like young boys, questions about like girls and sex and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing right now? Like, no, like, come on. And like, so there's just like so many people out there that, are pumping out stuff that to me is toxic, but to everybody else, I'm an asshole and I'm the fun police and everything else, because it's just so ingrained in our culture. And instead of looking at it and saying, hey, like, maybe we could be even just a little bit better, like, even just a little bit better. Like, it's easier just to be like, to villainize all the people that want to change it.
Yes,
So,
yes. Well, brother, you're doing it. You got that new series on your Instagram. Talking about like being a hockey coach in the game and talking to parents. It's beautiful. You have a very organic platform, and like you said, you get on, you do your service, and you get off and go back to serving your family. Don't let it take away. So, in saying that, I want to get you back to your life and your family. You've given us almost an hour and a half of your time, man. I appreciate so much. You came out of the woods a little bit for this, and I think people are going to love to hear it. Love your updates, and think you'll get a whole bunch of new messages that maybe people will, of course, some will be not knowing and dump some more stuff on you, but I think you're going to get a lot who are going to tell you, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself. I think it's going to be a beautiful outpouring after this.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, and that's not to tell people like, don't message me. It's just, if, don't have the expectation that I can answer right away. I always do try to get back. It might take, I try to have like filter through like anything that is like very pressing. Like, like, I do my best to be able to be like, okay, like, if some, then at least I can, like, say, hey, like, I'm sorry, like I'm here for you, but this, this service, call this number, whatever, at least I can like give somebody that immediate support. It doesn't happen often anymore. Used to happen more often, but reach out, send messages. Like, I love to hear from people. It's that it's an amazing tool to be able to connect. I still don't think we're meant to, but at the end of the day, it's been an amazing tool for me. It's been an amazing tool for you and so many people. When you use it the right way, it can be a beautiful thing, and that's what you're doing. Keep doing your thing. Like, I see you all the time. Just keep pumping it out there. I can see you're passionate about it. You're getting better and better and better at it. You have a knack for it, and that's why people keep showing up and listening to you. So yeah, just keep shining your light, and looking forward to reading your book as soon as it comes out, and I'll be pumping it on my platform and whatever you need from me. And yeah, like, yeah, really, really excited, and proud of you, man, for just being on the other side of it. I know you've made a lot of changes in your life, and kind of still working through that, and I'm sure we all will be. That's the whole point. But yeah, it's really cool to see the changes you've made. Even from your physical appearance, and looking healthy, to hearing the way you speak, the way you present, and just the way that you're living your life. So yeah, inspiring. And yeah, tell your mom I said hi, and wish you all the nothing but continued success. And yeah, well, I'm sure we'll see you at a few events here soon, and we're always staying in touch. So thanks so much for having me, and yeah, looking forward to following along the rest of the way.
My goodness, can you tell he's a speaker, people? The love pouring through, man. The light you shine. I appreciate you, man. Namaste. That was beautiful. I will definitely say hi to my mom. I hope you say hi to your family. I look forward to being around you in person once again because it's always special. Thank you so much, Brady Leavold.
Likewise, brother.
Hey, Ben here from After the Bell and the Fight Plan podcast. I'm really excited to announce that I've been working with Gabriel on something we call the next arena. Now, this is built for somebody who's going through transitions in life, whether that be leaving the game, changing careers, or just looking to move forward with a little bit more purpose and a little bit more structure. We'll be announcing more on this soon, but until then, back to the podcast.
Ding, ding, fight fans. That's the wrap on the conversation with such a legend, Brady Leavold. And we are welcoming back in our spiritual brother, Ben. Namaste, brother. Thank you so much for being here again. How the hell are you, man? How are you feeling after listening to that conversation?
I feel alive. Brady inspired not just like the healed version, the healing version of me, but the version of me that didn't know what the fuck he was getting into yet. It was just such a gentle yet jarring reminder that we're all going through and have gone through so much in our lives, and that we're not alone. So I just want to say, first and foremost, huge thank you to Brady for spending time with us, sharing his journey authentically, and being such a positive light in this world. I just want to say thank you to him. Thank you, brother. You are a wonderful human, and you're helping so many.
Mm. And the time he gave us with his, his busy life, his family, all the stuff he's doing on the ice, his love affair with hockey is coming full circle. As a child and now as an adult, he gets to go back out there and get lost in the stick handling. And I think it's so cool. Like, I just know about this personally with him, Ben, is like all that time stick handling as a kid, he gets to do that now where he just sets a time some sides and just stick handles and does all those puck tricks. And it's just like he's back when he's a kid, just getting out of it. But he gets to go in to help kids now. He's the adult showing up and creating space like he so passionately talked about.
Well, that was part of his identity for so long. And you create a bunch of tricks and a bunch of, we'll call it like energy inside of that identity. And I think one thing he touched on with so much is when that identity started to feel fake, and he started to talk about how that identity wasn't really him anymore because he was battling so much. And I think what he's talking about now, which is so cool, is revisiting that from a place of, we're going to call it evolution, an evolved state of coming back and having the love and the joy and the appreciation for once what was an identity, his life. And now it's coming from a place of just like a sense of just being in that moment. And I think it's so beautiful. I'm so happy he shared that.
Mm. And it just so brought up in me, not having the same upbringing. We all have a different, unique path, but I just worship sports as religion growing up, and I had no idea. Like, it wasn't just hockey, people. It was everything. I never learned to like change a tire or like build a shed in the backyard. It was just either play basketball, play road hockey, play on the ice, play baseball. It was just sports. And what he spoke about when, he went away, and it was like, wow, this is harder. There's really good players out here, and they're older and they're meaner, and I've always played so hard, and now they're all ganging up on me and butt ending me, and he just like, screw this. I can remember when hockey wouldn't go well, when sports wouldn't go well, I would just run to the next thing, because that escape, that safe place would get a little tarnished and go, ooh. I'd run away to food, which I'm going to talk about a lot more in the book, and other things that became my vices.
You know what's funny? Oh, it's not necessarily funny. It's when your safe place no longer feels safe anymore. You don't know where to go. And he touched on that. It was when hockey no longer felt safe. He had no idea where to go. I think a lot of us work through those type of things. Is we have coping mechanisms, healthy and non-healthy. And when those things no longer feel like they're serving us or getting us out of those negative headspaces, we don't know what to do, and realizing that it wasn't the thing that was providing us a safety. It was us all along. So when those things start to feel like intruders, or they start to feel like those space starts to feel like the bully itself, it's remembering that, not demonizing whether it be hockey or the food, or it's our relationship at the moment to it. And I think he did a great job of talking about that. You talk about that consistently. It's when it feels like it's becoming the enemy, I think we have to step back and realize, like, ask ourselves, why does this feel like it's becoming the enemy? Because it's not trying to attack me, it's trying to teach me something.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, being able to, you just have that ego come up and be like, man, I wish I could have seen that. But like, that's such a clue for anyone out there listening. Like, if you're playing something that is your happy place, a sport, but then it starts to not feel that way, it's such a clue into, why are you actually playing the sport? I talk to kids all the time, and they ask me, how does my, or parents or kids, how does my daughter make the PWHL? How does my son make the NHL? It's like, why do you want to make it there anyway? What is that? And it's always this ladder. It's fun. Okay, well, what's fun about it? Well, I get lost in it. Well, what does that feel like? Well, I kind of disappear. And it's like, huh. So are you playing because you like the sport, or you like the result it gives you? And they always look at me like, huh. And it's like, yeah. So we're like, it's so, as a coach, that's what you want to point people back to. But when you're in it and that veil is over you, and all you know is the blinders of sport is kind of my painkiller for all the shit I deal with, it's pretty hard to see it.
A pretty common term, shadow work, right? And you were touching a little bit on it, and I call it the why game. It's when you're looking to find your shadows and maybe understand them a little bit better, you just keep asking yourself why. And you really touched on it there, talking about, why do you love the game? Well, I love it because it provides me freedom, or it's fun. Why does it provide you freedom, and why does it feel fun? Well, when I'm out there, I'm in this state of flow. I'm in this, there, I don't really think too much. Well, why does that feel safe? Well, because maybe when I'm at home, things are tough and difficult. And then you even go, why is it difficult and stuff at home? And it sounds like common sense, is you're just trying to be a detective and figure it out. But there's something at the base of this. There's a root of all these things. And once you understand that, you realize you have nothing to fix. You have something to build a relationship with, a better understanding with. And because that's the thing, you talk about sports as a painkiller, you've been trying to numb yourself from that thing. And as Brady so graciously shared, and you've talked about, is that pain comes back, and it comes back 10 times worse because it's been ignored for so long. It's just like an emotion. If it doesn't get recognized or honored or felt, it gets bigger, it gets badder, it gets stronger. And you start to realize you're not bigger, badder, and stronger than it. It was just, and the whole time it just wanted to be understood, felt, and heard. And I think that's what we talk about, is getting to that why, and why you're doing all of this type of stuff is such a crucial step in this self-development and healing process.
And people are going to get sick of it maybe on After the Bell, but it's for a reason, people. Why is it up there on the wall? Why can you see it in the background here? Awareness. If you don't have the awareness of something, you cannot work at it. That's where we're constantly going to be pointing you back here to, because it's changed everything I know for myself. And just to be aware of these things, to ask those questions, it's so heavy. That voice is so loud in our heads. And like what we like to call the ego, and all of our personal discussions, Ben, we have offline, is this part of the journey where you really have to understand it's not about killing this ego. It's like you said, it's about building a relationship with it. What you avoid will only grow. What you feel will pass through. It's that buffalo in the storm thing again. The cows run away from the storm, it follows them, it grows, it terrifies them. The buffalo just walks straight through that thing. And that's what we're talking about. But you need the awareness, the intellectual first, then the embodied integration through meditation, through different practices that allow you to go, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's happening. Oh, don't run away again. Lean in, lean in. And it's a repetition, just like your slap shot, wrist shot, anything, people.
It's what you feed grows stronger, exactly like you said. And ignoring something is feeding it. It's giving it attention by the fear of it. And remember, we like to talk about what's fear. It's false evidence appearing real, right? And so when you're giving this false evidence more power by giving it even the attention to be something you have to ignore to be able to cope with, it sits there and it starts getting bigger. It starts feeling stronger and it says, okay, well, to get to you, I need to get louder. I'm going to now disguise myself as your ego, as part of your identity, as part of all of these things that you identify as, because now we're going to just interject into your life where we're going to start becoming interwoven in everything you do, everything you become, everything you say, you're going to become it. Where if you become like the buffalo and you realize I'm not scared of it, it's just hard. It's just something that I'm uncomfortable with because I can't predict safety right now. But I'm going to learn faith and belief, self-development, self-love, self-kindness, compassion, all of these things through this journey, through being the bull and going through the storm. You're going to realize that the whole time it was there to teach you about love, kindness, strength. All of those lessons you had to dig deep for, it was your teacher the whole time.
It's just so wild who we are conditioned to just pain, run, awful things, no, get away, escape, whether it's movies, media, social, everything it's about run away. And that's what sells to people, the easy route, the quick results. And that's what we got to start changing this narrative around here, especially on After the Bell on this Fight Plan podcast ecosystem, that we look forward to that pain. And it sounds paradoxical. I know it's going to trigger alarm bells in your head, but anything you've done in your life, you've had to get uncomfortable to progress in. And let's look at where we're sitting. We're all getting through it. It may not have been fun, but looking back, the dots always connect. And that's how you make progress. You work through things. And I'm just finding personally in my own journey, like the more I lean into this pain, the more love just bursts out from behind it, man.
Well, I'm so glad you brought light to it. It was when someone hears look forward to the pain, they instantly want to be like, shut up.
Yeah.
Right. And I understand that feeling. I've certainly been that person that tries to nitpick all of the little things and try to get on top of somebody for being like, you don't know what you're talking about, yada, yada, yada. But recognizing that that's part of the relationship. That's the fear coming up. That's the response of, I'm not in a healthy space with the things, my teachers. I'm not in a healthy, it's just like a coach, right? I think Brady touched on it great. I wish there was more leading through building up and enlightenment and building people up while still being able to teach. But that fear is a teacher. It's trying to show you it's not real, but it keeps appearing more and more real so you can continue to go into it. So everyone's on there. You don't have to sit there and start jumping for joy and be like, I'm so excited to go through all this shit. It's recognizing that when shit starts hitting the fan, all you need is the awareness to go, I'm learning right now. That's it. That is it. It's not going to feel good. You're not going to sit there and feel like you're having fun at Six Flags or something with your friends. It's that moment of awareness is going, I'm about to learn so much right now. And it's probably going to be more difficult than I'd like it to be.
And athletes out there, anybody who's had to be in any kind of shape to play a sport or had to do conditioning drills at the end of practice or before a season, that I used to feel it the night before I went to bed. I'm like, oh God, I gotta run hills on Saturday morning. I gotta ride that Satan assault bike. It's gonna feel like my quads are skins peeling off my body, and I would get all this fear and this buildup. I would eat my morning smoothie and I'd get a stomach ache. I'd get there, I'd still be digesting, and I got to get on and rip this thing. And then I'd put everything into it. I'd feel the pain. It would be god awful. And then I would stop and I'd collapse on the ground. And we could say there's another type of clarity, but this is like post-workout clarity. It's just like, it's gone already. It's gone. It what was I worried about? We've all been there, but we get sucked back into the illusion of like, oh no, the next pain's coming. That's why we have to do this work. We have to create this space, as Viktor Frankl says in Life, Our Man's Search for Meaning, between stimulus and response to know, okay, I've been here before. I can sit in this unknown space. And I always get through it, because if we run, and I can speak from my personal experience, you run from feeling that pain, it leads to vice, it leads to addiction, it leads you farther away from the path. And just like you said with a coach, you don't have a good relationship with your teacher, your coach, your season's going to fall apart, your career's going to fall apart. You have to lean into these relationships.
Think about this. You talk about that anticipation, right? It's your mind was in far more pain for far longer than it had to be. Because how long did that physical pain last? Maybe an hour and a half, intermittently, right? It wasn't every single moment. You may have been tired and stuff like that, but that feeling of being gassed, the muscles being tight, sucking wind, all of those things last for a really short time in comparison of the 12, 13, 14 hours compounded over years and practices. Just think about, like, I forget who said it. It was probably Jesus, or it could have been an Alan Watts quote, but like, we never felt better through worrying. Worrying never solved anything. So the more you're worrying about things, you're just putting more attention and more awareness and more focus on the problem instead of that feeling you talk about at the end of like feeling good about yourself, feeling accomplished. We worry so much about the pain, we forget to put our awareness on those payoffs, the good feelings, the things we do it for. Because I think our society really trained us to focus on all the bad shit, complain a lot more, put so much more fear-based stuff instead of focusing on like, hey, this is going to make you feel better than you've ever felt before in your life.
It's the conditioning, man. But I think we see this trend. I mean, we had it with Cody Bass. I think we're going to continue to see it. If you study things like we do, people, it's very clear when people go through trials like Brady Leavold has, there's not many folks who are not going to say that they're doing a bit better because of finding some sort of higher power. And that means whatever it means to you. It doesn't mean rediscovering his faith in Christianity like Brady. It doesn't mean you have to go to the India and do a trek through the Himalayas. Like, it's about whatever that means to you. But there's a clear trend in the literature, in history, of people finding something bigger than themselves. And what a quote he dropped that his friend told him, right? The meaning of life is giving life meaning. So what you just spoke about there, Ben, it's like, let's be aware of these issues we're dealing, but then give meaning to, I'm going to give meaning to the pain. I'm going to give meaning to the tough things because I trust in something bigger than myself. And that comes through, Brady talked about his intuition. That comes with experience. I was a younger man thinking, oh, I don't need to have experience to figure things out. You start to see that your intuition was telling you something and you went against it and it didn't go so well. It seems to be that every time that gut feeling comes and you go with it, things tend to work out a little bit better.
It became your teacher, right? He said, give life meaning. Well, that means there's going to be pain, but what's the pain? What's the pain for? Not what's the pain doing to me? What's the pain teaching me? And I do this on calls all the time. I'll sit there and I'll 100% empathize with, I know you don't want to do this right now. I know it sounds stupid. I know you're going to want to tell me to piss off or whatever it is. And you're allowed to, but we're going to accomplish the task together because that's why we're here. And I go, if you had to pick 5 things to why this is what this is teaching, how's this happening for you? Just give me 5 and we'll sit here for however long it takes. We'll find them together. I'll help you brainstorm. But the whole thing is helping you get there on your own. And without fail, every single time after the first 10, 15, 20 seconds, we start finding stuff. And then all I say is, the only difference now is you believe one to be true, but they all exist. They all have equal probability of being true. You were just taught one is true. And then you kept feeding that. Well, what if we started feeding this a little bit more? How would we feed that? And now all of a sudden people start building up this artistic picture of what that belief looks like, how they can go about it, not how I tell them to go about it. It's what can they do? And all of a sudden, the whole secret sauce of it all is they start to see that, oh my gosh, I've just been feeding a beast the entire time. I have a choice in where to put my awareness. And I think it's such an incredible gift to be in people's arena helping them find this light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, this doesn't have to rule my life anymore. It's incredible.
Oh, so good, dude. And the WhatsApp community this week, people, my WhatsApp community, our WhatsApp community, it was just that what we talked about right there. We put out a call to anybody who wanted to sit down, take some breaths, and write out their story in 300 words minimum of what narrative they were living and believing right now. Not read it out loud, just write it out and then read it, and then sit the same, do some breathing again, and then just write the exact opposite, write what you want to be living, their dream life right now in the same way, and then read that one out loud later and say it twice a day when you go wake up in the morning and you go to bed. And Erica from our group did it, and the share she had and read it out loud to her group. It was so beautiful because you start to see like, oh my gosh, I am the one creating and giving life this meaning with this narrative I'm living right now. And I don't have to do that. I just need the awareness to know that I am. Now consciously choose. And if you put yourself in that unconscious story, you can put yourself in a conscious one and you have full control of it. But there's a guilt that goes with that, of that we have to work through that. But then you lean into what you want to see happen, what you want to see manifest, and you start living from that place. And that exercise, people, can change everything.
That's a beautiful exercise. It lines up so perfectly with, things me and you talk about offline, but how everything is just from the field of probability. And until we collapse our awareness on it, it becomes reality. That's not just made up. That's quantum physics. I'm certainly not the person to explain to you the depths of quantum physics, but I'll call myself a hobbyist. And it's incredible because you realize that the outside world doesn't impact our inside world. It's our inside world actually creates the outside world. And without going to wavelengths and all of these type of things, it's realizing that until you understand what feeling and being and acting like that aligned version of yourself is, you're never going to know what's different than what it is now. So a great step is exactly what Gabe's is talking about. Deciding what it looks like, feels like, acts like, to be that version of yourself. And then most importantly, what does it feel like? You'll hear me say this all the time. If you don't know what happiness, peace, joy, love, compassion, and all of these things that you're looking for look like, they can knock on your door hundreds and hundreds of times, and you will slam the door in their face because you said, I'm waiting for compassion, I'm waiting for love. And they've been there the whole time. You just didn't know what they looked like, how they showed up, where they're already present, and what they feel like for you.
Oh, so good, dude. We're just playing love and light tennis right now because, dude, that's what it's all about. We have to change before the reflection changes. And this analogy blew my mind when I heard it. It's like we're all in life when we're unconscious, and we've all been there. We're looking in a mirror and we're seeing this unhappy person, and then you got an itch on your face. But instead of just itching your own face and putting a smile on, you're trying to scratch the itch in the mirror and trying to find a happy person in that reflection. Would anybody ever scratch an itch in a mirror? It's absolutely ludicrous. You scratch it on your face, you smile because you satisfied the itch, then the reflection shares that with you. You see it after you change. Life's not going to give you these happy moments. It's going to give you opportunities to realize them. Like you said, opportunities to embody them. We all just are conditioned to want quick and easy in this social media era and the dopamine addiction era. We have to have this conscious awareness, and surrounding yourselves with conversations like this, like me and Ben surround each other with friends. It points you back to these things.
You are so spot on that we are living in a world that we think we need a certain result in a certain amount of time, and realizing the greatest thing you can realize in this journey is that there is no finish line to this. This is a forever eternity thing. And you'll have fallbacks. And then what will happen there is you're going to realize, hey, this fallback felt a little bit higher than my last one. That's what we talk about in coaching. What we talk about in our course is what we talk about together. It's, hey, each time you feel like you fall backwards, the goal is to raise your floor, So your floor is now what once was your ceiling. And you're going to feel like that's the bottom of your barrel now at some point that you were praying to get to what your now basement is. And I think that's the biggest thing, is realizing that. And then that basement is going to become another like you're going to continue to keep growing through this stuff. But remember, like, you want this to happen in a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. Like, plan forever. So each small step is the next biggest step you can take.
It's just so beautiful, man. And I want to bring it back to Brady here and give him his flowers, because sometimes we need to step back and say, look how well we are doing. There's nothing wrong with that. Brady, could you imagine you pulled him from when he's on the streets of Hastings in the midst of his drug addiction? You go, dude, you're going to get to a point where you actually burn yourself out from helping too many people.
Right.
And he would have been like, I'm getting all my hair standing up. He'd be like, what? And that's where he got to, a home in Muskoka, making an income, doing what he loves, with a family, with new children. And he's going, damn, I'm staying up all night trying to help people because I felt like I was so hurt. But then he's making that new breakthrough through the ceiling of Brady. You're going through a new ceiling. And now you're telling him, dude, you're going to get to a point where you just put your oxygen mask on first, and you know that you showing up as you in every present moment is the ultimate gift that you could ever give. Not running around every DM and social media, being where your boots are, man, and being a light.
Remember, old patterns are going to surface in old ways, and they're going to disguise themselves as old feelings. And whether that be Brady going through what feels like burnout now, right? Because you've been so mission and purpose driven for so long that, oh my God, I'll break it to you, everyone. Helping people can feel really exhausting because you put so much energy into helping so many that, once again, you forget to put your oxygen mask on. You forget what it was like to get up. Because remember, no one was really relying on him or us at those moments. It was, we had to strap up the skates, or we had to strap up the bootstraps and do it ourselves without, having to worry about other people relying on us. Now, when all of the lights are on you and when you're trying to do all these things, there's these added pressures, and you forget what you did. And all these old patterns of maybe self-worth pop up, or old feelings and old pulls to go certain places with certain people to do certain things. And that can be, in Brady's case, in addiction. That can be in your case in going to hang out with a toxic ex, or not speaking you person, but like our viewer, whatever that shows up for you. Just recognize everything is a pattern, but you have the tools, and all it is awareness to recognize. And then from there, it's a choice on which beast you want to feed. Right behind Gabe's, which one do you want to feed?
Oh, dude, it's so good. So good. And personal share here, I'm reading Michael Singer, who's my greatest teacher's new book, Wisdom Untethered. And it's just a collection of like the 200 most asked questions of him, and he answers them in like max 4 paragraphs. So it's so succinct and so powerful. And someone just said, what's true trust and surrender in life look like? Like, how do you, you just put that in 2 sentences kind of thing. And he's like, I got you. And he's like, true surrender, and this is where the higher power comes in. This is where you see the pattern Ben's talking about happen over and over again. You keep leaning in. If you keep leaning in over and over again, you will get to a point, he says, where you realize, one, that everything is happening exactly how it's supposed to for you, couldn't possibly not, and for everyone around you. And 2, that no matter what that brings, you will be able to handle it, and not just handle it, thrive through it. And people, that is a life you can live. And it's like having the blueprint is just written in your blood, in your DNA. You just have to have the awareness and do the work through repetition, just like work on a wrist shot, slap shot, a punch, to realize it. And it's there for all of us for the taking.
It's presenting itself to you now because now you're ready to handle it. You may not feel like it is. You may not feel like you're ready, but it didn't present itself before because you weren't ready then. It's here now in this present moment, because that's all we have is this present moment, because you are now ready to handle, work through, thrive through it, and then turn around and help others as well. It doesn't have to be through podcasting or teaching or social media. It can be helping a sister, a brother, a mom, a dad in minute moments of each day. You're going to have an understanding of the greater consciousness of what others are experiencing, because you chose to be the bull, walk through the storm, learn through it, and then become a teacher and a safe place to land yourself. And Gabes, I'm so appreciative of you sharing that, Michael Singer, because I think that rings so true for so many of us going through that today.
Thank you, brother. Beautiful reflection back. And that's where Brady is right now, people. 9 days ago, having a breakthrough, coming on our podcast to share. He wanted to dive down the old patterns of negativity. And we're like, dude, let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's lean into what you got going on now. But that's the undulations. These are the waves that we ride, people. And who knows what it's going to be like when we have Brady on in the future. Maybe another year from now, a year into the Fight Plan podcast, we check in with Brady and we can look back on this after bell. We can stitch it together and do like a longer episode for people who haven't seen it. Who knows which lesson he'll be on then, which new breakthrough he'll be on the cusp of. But dude, these are just getting more fun, aren't they?
They are, dude. It's such an honor to be able to do this and celebrate the people we have on, celebrate ourselves, celebrate you, celebrate our viewers. And yeah, if you have anything going on in your life, or especially specifically in the hockey world, check out, was it Puck Support?
Mm-hmm.
Brady's foundation and what they have been doing and stuff like that, just to have resources like Puck Support and Brady himself and stuff like that. And it's so incredible. So thankful for all the work he's doing in the sport of hockey and beyond, because it's reaching so much farther than hockey. And I just want to say thank you. But if you're viewing this and someone's struggling and maybe they don't know where to go, Puck Support's a great place to take a look and see all what Brady's doing. So I just want to say big thanks to Brady and Puck Support and everything they're doing.
Amen, brother. And hey, people, he may not get back to you right away, but he says he still goes through those messages. So it's just part of your journey that, hey, if you send him something deep and looking for a response, he'll answer right in the perfect timing that he's supposed to. So know that he's doing his best. We're all doing our best out here. And thank you so much for tuning in another episode of After the Bell. That's a wrap, people, on the Brady Leavold episode. Thank you.
Sending love, everybody.
I just seriously hope you enjoyed listening to that podcast as much as I enjoyed recording it with that guest and then breaking it down with Ben on After the Bell. If you really want to support us, the best way is to like and subscribe, to get connected on socials, the Fight Plan on Instagram and TikTok. And then finally, get in the WhatsApp community where we talk about the real fights in life, but of course the fun hockey fights and fights in sports too. Thank you.